Eleanor heard her mother wanting to know what was going on. She sounded wide awake, no doubt wrenched into full consciousness by the roar of the plane. A second later, there were footsteps on the landing, and Rachel appeared, leaning over the banisters. "You can come up now." She was speaking to Alex, who grimaced and put down his glass. Eleanor smiled, tried to look encouraging. She wondered what it was like to be Alex, to have seen so many men his own age and even younger killed, and then to come back into this other world where an old woman dying in her own bed, surrounded by people who loved her, was treated as a tragedy. They never really come back, she thought, looking at Alex, thinking of Toby, wondering if the same might not be true of Paul. "You too, Eleanor?" She didn't want to go. She thought Alex would want time alone with his grandmother. They'd been so close, but evidently Rachel thought otherwise. For whatever reason, she'd decided the whole family should all be there together. Alex was sitting with his back to the door when she entered the room, his left hand resting on his grandmother's wrinkled arm. Her dead white skin and his brown hand shockingly contrasted against the pale blue coverlet. It imprinted itself on her mind, that image. She knew she would always remember it. Mother was smiling, though she could only smile with one side of her face. The other was twisted into a permanent droop or sneer. And she was struggling to speak. "It's all right, Gran." Alex obviously meant don't bother, don't try to speak, but the old woman's mouth worked and worked at the words that wouldn't come. Then, "Toby," she said. "I knew you'd come." Eleanor saw Alex flinch. Rachel, who was standing on the other side of the bed, leant forward as if to protect her son. Too late for that, Eleanor thought. You should have been doing that years ago. Shortly afterwards, Mother drifted off to sleep again. She seemed contented, happy even. They listened to her breathing, waiting and perhaps some of them longing for a change in the rhythm. But though the gaps between one breath and the next seemed sometimes impossibly long, her chest still rose and fell with the same remorseless regularity. This might go on for days. "I can't bear it," Eleanor thought. And then, "Don't be stupid. Of course you can." In the end, the prolonged silence became too revealing. "I'll get Nurse Wiggins," Eleanor said. She didn't know what Nurse Wiggins could do, but she felt the family atmosphere needed diluting. She ran quickly upstairs and tapped on the door at the end of the corridor. Nurse Wiggins appeared, bleary-eyed from lack of sleep, all that fresh, jolly hardness gone. "Yes, of course I'll come." She stifled a yawn, then yawned again. Moist, pink, cat-like interior, huge tonsils. Beginning to relax slightly, Eleanor went first to her own room to splash her face with tepid water. No water was really cold this summer. Was tempted to lie down for half an hour, but decided she ought to go downstairs. When she reached the bottom step, she saw Alex and Rachel standing under Toby's portrait in the hall. Something about their attitude suggested the talk was private, so she retreated a few steps and settled down to wait. Rachel was saying in a low, urgent voice, "You will stay."